Cosmic News Network. First contact with SOUTHPORT.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poe. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio. Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back to First Contact Radio. Friday has arrived. It is the 8th of January, 2016. We're in a void of course phase. The void of course began shortly after 1 o'clock, 1:19 a.m. to be specific. And the void of course lasts until 9:07 a.m. At that point in time, we're going to go into our new moon sign, which will be Capricorn. So right now, we're not in any moon signs. We're in the in-between phase. Okay? The in-between phase. Now, as we go forth, as I said, we're going to hit the moon sign of Capricorn at 9:07. So at that point in time, we're going to have a sun sign and the moon sign will both be in Capricorn. So Capricorn is an earth sign. So when you have the earth signs, the ideas and the things that we're dealing with are earth related. Okay, so think of anything earth related. The career you work, the job, the activities that take place, your body, things of this nature. So when we're dealing with earth, we're dealing with things that deal with the element of earth and what's in the earth and how we nurture it. So, taking care of ourselves, taking care of our bodies, taking care of our health, taking care of the world around us, taking care of our home, the things in the physical world. That's what is important with this. So our sun sign and our moon sign are both pointing there. The trick, as always, with Capricorn is this, to remember, this is the card that represents Capricorn in the Tarot, and what it reminds us is that there are more worlds than just the physical, because it's easy to get caught up in the physical and then forget that there is the world of fire, water, air that leads to the world of earth, okay, the world of form. We have ideas, emotions, and actions. All of this is overseen by spirit, which flows through everything. But by the time we get down to the physical, we then have the opportunity, through the use of our free will, to decide the degree that we are going to allow spirit in or not. And oftentimes it's just a matter of what we understand and what we don't, if we're taught that or if we're not taught that. As we continue to grow and we begin our own journeys and our own study, we begin to find out for ourselves, and so we sometimes move past the teachings of educational systems to find out for ourselves what this is about, because we all intuitively know about taking care of ourselves, taking care of the earth, and so on and so forth. We all have our own methods. Whether we choose to listen to them or not, that's up to us. The star above the head is the star that represents everything that this is about. It's the misuse of energy. It's looking at energy as if the only energy that we're getting is coming in from our root chakra first, and then everything else should be based on that, as opposed to when the energy is coming in through the crown chakra first. And okay, so that's Capricorn. We're dealing with the physical world. Take care of the physical world. Take care of the things in your earth, in your physical reality. But remember that there's more behind it that affects that, and if you're aware of that, then you might be able to affect the physical a bit more. Okay, Venus is also part of this mix here. Right here, actually, that's Mercury. Mercury in Capricorn, so communicating in the physical reality. Mars. Throw some extra energy into the mix, maybe energizes ourselves. Maybe it's a good time to go do some workout, some exercise. If we have that extra energy that's available to us later tonight, 10, 11 p.m., our imagination, Venus and Saturn get together. A little bit more focus, a little bit more discipline, maybe, seeing what we're going to do with our imagination, so it's not just something that's out there as a whim, but something that we make a reality. So we focus a little bit more. Okay, Saturn is always about discipline and focus. And if you think of discipline, I like to think of discipline as if we're taking all of the energies and we're focusing them down, we're disciplining ourselves to focus our energies to a central point where we can make use of that energy. So it's focused where we want to go. Okay, that's how I like to look at it. And finally, 11:07 p.m., Neptune, which is unexpected, or excuse me, which is looking at things from a new perspective. And we have Capricorn. So in our Earth, our reality, we want to look at things in ways we haven't looked at them before. Oftentimes, it's really necessary to do that because it helps us to understand something that we didn't understand before. And of course, we have the new moon coming up, and that will be in just a few short hours. Okay, 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. So tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. So it's more than just a few hours. It's actually 24, a little less than 36, 34, 33 hours away till we hit this new moon. Okay, new moon's new beginning. So use the time. Use this time of this rest of this moon phase that's ending of the moon cycle. Use it to wrap up things. So use the new moon then to begin something fresh. That's sort of the cool thing about the moons, that we can use it as a timing factor, and we can do things on the new moon and then watch what happens when the next new moon comes or when the full moon comes. And if we just start looking at them as time markers, very interesting, because the energy moves out and in like the tides, is what we're told, and how things move. On the Jewish calendar, 27 Tevet, it's the end of the Jewish calendar month. We're beginning a new month when we return on Monday. The daily thought for today is compassion. What is the difference between kindness and compassion? Kindness gives to another. Compassion knows no other. Something to think about. Kindness gives to another. Compassion knows no other. The Dreamspell Oracle today is a 7-tone day, and the wave spell of the Wizard, which is the lesson of timelessness. So we're at the resonant, the attunement of timelessness. The sun is our kin for today, which is enlightenment. Free will is our guide. The storm, the gathering of energy, is our like-minded energy, how we're going to use that energy, what we're going to do with it. Love and loyalty is our challenge for today, and giving birth to ourselves. The dragon is our hidden power, giving birth to who and what we're about, our ideas, and so forth. Today's a Galactic Activation Portal Day, and the phrase is, I channel in order to enlighten inspiring life. I seal the matrix of universal fire with the resonant tone of attunement. I am guided by the power of free will. I am a Galactic Activation Portal. Right down here, we could see it's the first column over, last position. So it's the last and the last, okay? So we could see why there's a synchronicity. Last in the row, last in the column. Space weather, our solar wind is currently at 492.7 kilometers per second. Planetary K-index, quiet at 2, 3 in the next 24 hours. Nothing much in the way of coronal holes. M-class flare possibility is up to 10%. X-class is up to 1. I'm going to be remaining in that position for the next 24 hours, 24 to 48 mid-latitudes. We have a bit of a decrease in the geomagnetic storm activity, dropping down from 15 to 10, and upper latitudes from 25 down to 20. So things are subsiding a little bit as the universe continues to breathe in and out. And finally, looking at the sky tonight. Okay. When we look out, we'll see Venus and Saturn right next to each other. In the early dawn, Saturday morning, spot brilliant Venus, the morning star, in the southeast. Right next to it is Saturn, only 1/60th as bright. When seen from the Americas, they'll be 1/2 inch or less apart. That's about the width of a chopstick at arm's length. Binoculars give a fine view, and both planets will fit into a telescope's low or medium powered eyepiece. Okay. There you go. That's cosmic weather for today, which brings us, as always, to UFO news. So let's move on.
This is the UFO News with Joshua Poet.
All right, UFO news for today. 4 stories. Story number 1. Remember the sighting in Stephenville years ago? Well, this says Stephenville UFO is seen again over Davis Mountains in Texas. This was at the end of the year, the 29th. This rectangle UFO tried to blend into the sky, making itself white, but honestly, it didn't fool anyone. The shape is similar to the UFO that was recorded on radar flying over the Bush Ranch in 2008. Speaking of which, President Bush was a well-known military pilot, and I believe the chances are that he was piloting UFO over his ranch. Okay, you guys making a joke there. Here we go. The eyewitness, Tuesday, December 29th, 2015, while on vacation in the Davis Mountain region of Texas. We had to drive from Fort Davis to Alpine to get a new tire. Once completed, we decided we'd just drive over to Marfa, Texas to see what was there and to make a loop back to Fort Davis. This was somewhere around 10 to 11 a.m. Central Time. On that drive west from Alpine to Marfa, about 10 miles from Marfa, my wife and I noticed a white rectangular, or perhaps trapezoidal shape in the distance to the south, to the west. I first thought that we were seeing something reflecting off the ancient mountains, but as we got closer, it was apparent it was up in the sky. It appeared to be there. As we were driving, I could not tell if it was moving at all, just hung there in the distance. My wife thought it must be a weather balloon, but I said it was too rectangular for that. It didn't appear to move up or down. It was just a very odd sight, and I have to admit, being in the area of the famous Marfa lights didn't help any. All right, this is what was seen, just hanging there in the sky. Of course, this one is with a filter, so you can see it a little bit better. Okay. Here's an incident that occurred. It was the Hinckley UFO. Burbage historian recalls Hinckley's UFO. With the release of the film, it says Steven Spielberg's film Close Encounters of the Third Kind was released in 1977 upon a mainly unsuspecting public, although UFO sightings have been reported around the world for some years prior to 77. With the release of the film, sightings increased dramatically. No doubt the film made us much more aware of the possibility of visitors from outer space and thereafter. We are observing the night sky and also the daytime sky much more than we had in the past. I must admit that the film fired my imagination. I hoped that one day I would see a UFO, but did not really believe that it would happen. Well, happen it did, and not on one of the occasions when I was searching the night sky. In fact, I was driving my car when the sensational event began. It was Monday, May Day, the 23rd of October, 1978. At the time, I lived on Hinckley's Hollycraft Estate. On Monday evenings, I drove my wife to Hinckley College to a class that she attended. On the particular Monday, I was driving up Hollycroft Hill at about 6:35. My wife said, "What is that strange object in the sky?" I glanced in the direction of the gasworks and Coventry Road and saw it for myself. The object appeared to be delta in shape, had lights dotted around it. On arriving at the junction of Upper and Lower Bond Street, I observed that the object was high in the sky over the direction of the borough. I drove along Lower Bond Street into Council Road and then into Stockwell Head. At the time my wife was saying the object was overhead, my curiosity overcame me and I pulled into the parking area near the Concordia Theater. I noticed that 2 or 3 other cars were doing the same thing. We got out of the cars, as other people did, and looked up. Immediately above us was the object. It was now perfectly still. How high I could not say. There was no sound coming from it. There appeared to be some kind of observation cabin below the main structure, which seemed to have numerous windows from which lights flashed on and off. We all held our breath, not knowing what was going to happen next. Then all of a sudden there was a loud whoosh, and then the object vanished. My wife and I spoke with the other people. None of us could say what it was that we had really seen. I believe it was UFO in the true sense of the word. If the government or any other earthly power was testing some kind of flying machine, they certainly would have kept it quiet for the past 15 years. Recently, I discussed the incident with someone far more learned in astronomy than I am, and his belief is that it is impossible that it could have come from another planet. Well, I can say only what I saw certainly was no hallucination, as a number of other people had also seen it. So what did we see in the night of October 23rd, 1978? Whatever it was unnerving and a thrilling experience. Okay. The story from UFO Digest, UFOs over AINSDALE, Southport, UK. I was chatting with my wife while drinking tea in our AINSDALE home when we both saw a UFO streaking across the sky. Sadly, I was unable to take a photo or video footage. The paintings I've tried to create in this article is just my artist's impression of the UFO. I called it a UFO at the time of the writing. The object is unidentified. The UFO was impressive, sight to see with the greenish center and a long tail that was visible for several seconds. We were looking in an easterly direction when the object flew past the northerly trajectory. Was it a meteor, space debris, or aircraft in distress, or something else entirely? The UFO was quite amazing and appeared to be moving at a very high speed. We felt that many eyewitnesses in the surrounding areas must have witnessed that amazing sight streaking across the dark night sky. I've reported on similar events before, and there's more links there. So there's that. And one last piece. This is a video for watching purposes. This is the latest film from celebrated UFO artist and filmmaker Jim Nichols. What does the President of the United States truly know about an extraterrestrial presence engaging planet Earth? This program details the secret history of UFOs and aliens at the highest level of government secrecy, the Office of the President of the United States of America. Discover the connection between President Eisenhower, Truman, Kennedy, Nixon, and the unique place in history of UFOs and alien secrecy. For the first time, the involvement of all the presidents, up to and including President Nixon, and the rise and the fall of their influence in the UFO issues are told in one story that is an integral part of the fascinating UFO canon. These facts will shock and amaze you for generations to come. Okay, and the movie is 1 hour and 3 minutes long. Okay, so there you go. Something for you to watch over the course of this weekend. And there you go. That is our UFO news for today. I'll be back. Stay tuned.
Come into our circle, Great Spirit. Fill our souls with peace. down your love, send down your love, send down your love to us from above. Oh, 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 oh. Great Spirit, shine down your light, shine down your light, shine down your light to light our way. Great Spirit, shine down your light, shine down your light, shine down your light to light our way. Oh, 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 oh. Great Spirit, show us the way, show us the way, show us the way to live in peace every day. Great Spirit, show us the way, show us the way, show us the way to live in peace every day. Oh, 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 oh.
All right, let's continue on. Okay, so yesterday I was talking, and you heard me talk about before the difference between Yeshua and Jesus. They're the same person, the same being, but the name that we refer to them is different. And I brought this up a number of times in the past. I think this is very important. Yesterday I brought some things up, and I certainly don't want you to think that I'm, down on people who refer to Jesus as Jesus, because either way, whether Yeshua or Jesus, they're still referring to the same entity and being. So I'm not trying to be judgmental or critical in any certain way. I just think it's an important piece of the puzzle that anyone who is seeking really should understand. So for this regard, in this regards, I brought up this article, and we're going to look at this today, how Yeshua became Jesus. Okay, how Yeshua became Jesus. The first letter in the name Yeshua is the Yod. Okay, right here. Yod represents the letter Y sound in Hebrew. Many names in the Bible that begin with Yod are mispronounced by English speakers because the Yod in these names was transliterated in English Bibles with the letter J rather than Y. This came about because in early English the letter J was pronounced the way we pronounced Y today. All proper names in the Old Testament were transliterated into English according to the Hebrew pronunciation. But when English pronunciation shifted to what we know today, these transliterations were not altered. Thus, such Hebrew place names as Jerusalem, Jericho, and Yarden have become known to us as Jerusalem, Jericho, and Jordan. And Hebrew personal names such as Yonah, Yeshua, and Yeshua have become known as Jonah, Jesse, and Jesus. The Yod is the smallest letter of the alphabet, the Hebrew alphabet, which is why Yeshua used it in his famous saying in Matthew 5:18, "Until heaven and earth pass away, not one Yod," in Greek it would be iota, or not, will pass from the Torah. For emphasis, Yeshua incorporated in this saying a well-known Hebrew expression, lo yod velo kotso shel yod, not a yod and not a thorn of a yod. For example, not the most insignificant and unimportant thing. When Yeshua declared that heaven and earth might sooner disappear than the smallest letter of the Hebrew alphabet, or the smallest stroke of a letter, he was simply saying that the law, the Torah of Moses, would never cease to be. The second sound in Yeshua's name is called Shiri, and is pronounced like the letter E in the word net. Okay? Net. Just as the Y sound of the first letter is mispronounced in today's English, so too the first vowel in Jesus. Before the Hebrew name Yeshua was transliterated into English, it was first transliterated into Greek. There was no difficulty in transliterating the shri sound, since the ancient Greek language had an equivalent letter which represented the sound, and there was really no difficulty in transcribing the same first vowel into English. These translators of the earliest versions of the English Bible translated the shri in Yeshua with an E. Unfortunately, later English speakers guessed wrongly that this E should be pronounced as in me, and thus the first syllable of the English version of Yeshua came to pronounce as G instead of yeah. This is the pronunciation which produced such euphemistic profanities as G and G's. Since Yeshua is spelled Jeshua and not Jesus in most English versions of the Old Testament, for example, Ezra 2:2 and 2 Chronicles 31:15, one easily gets the impression that the name is never mentioned in Hebrew Scripture. Yet Yeshua appears there 29 times and is the name of at least 5 different persons and one village in the southern part of Judah. In contrast to the early biblical period, there were relatively few different names in the use among the Jewish population of the land of Israel at the time of the Second Temple. The name Yeshua was one of the most common male names in that period, tied with Eliezer for 5th place behind Simon, Joseph, Judah, and John. Nearly 1 out of 10 persons known from the period was Yeshua. The first sound of the second syllable of Yeshua is sh sound. It is represented by the Hebrew letter shin. However, Greek, like many other languages, has no sh sound. Instead, the closest approximation, the Greek sigma, was used when transcribing Yeshua as Eusis. Translators of English versions of the New Testament transliterated the Greek transcription of the Hebrew name instead of returning to the original Hebrew. This was doubly unfortunate, first because the sh sound exists in English, and second because in English the S sound can shift to the Z sound, which is what happened in the case of the pronunciation of Jesus. Okay, so instead of S we have Z, so G's. Okay, the fourth sound one hears in the name Yeshua is the U sound, as it comes from the word true. Like the first 3 sounds, this also comes to be mispronounced, but in the case, it is not the fault of the translators. They can transcribe this sound accurately, but English is not a phonetic language, and U can be pronounced in more than one way. At some point, the U in Jesus came to be pronounced as in a cut, so we say Jesus, as opposed to the U sounding like true, oo. Okay, so instead of a oo, it's a. The A sound, as in the word father, is the 5th sound in Jesus, his name. It is followed by a guttural produced by contracting the lower throat muscles and retracting the tongue root, an unfamiliar task for English speakers. In an exception to the rule, the vowel sound A associated with the letter Ain, guttural, is pronounced before it and not after it. While there is no equivalent in English or any other Indo-European language, it is somewhat similar to the last sound in the name of the composer, Bach. In this position, it is almost inaudible to the Western ear. Some Israelis pronounce the last sound and some don't, depending on the part of the dispersion of their families returned from. The Hebrew Language Academy, guardian of the purity of the language, has ruled that it should be sounded, and Israeli radio and television announcers are required to pronounce it correctly. There was no letter to represent them, and so the 5th and 6th sounds were dropped from the Greek transcription of Yeshua, the transcription of which the English Jesus is derived. So where did the final S of Jesus come from? Masculine names in the Greek ordinarily end with a consonant, usually with an S sound, and less frequently with an N or an R sound. In the case of Eosis, the Greeks added a sigma S sound to close the word. The same is true for the names Nicodemus, Judas, Lazarus, and others. English speakers make one further change from the original pronunciation of Jesus' name. English places the accent of G rather than on sus. For this reason, the U has shortened its English pronunciation to In the West, a child's name is often chosen for the pleasant sound or because a family member had it. The Jews of the Second Temple also named after relatives, Luke 1:59 through 63. However, almost all Jewish names have a literal meaning. Occasionally, this is seen in English too, such as Scott, a person from Scotland, Johnson, son of John, baker, bread maker. But with Hebrew names, it is the rule rather than the exception. The name Yeshua means the Lord's salvation, or cry out to the Lord for help. It is a short version of Yeshua, literally Yahweh saves or turns us. In comparison, prior to being transliterated from the Hebrew Bible, the name Iusis did not exist in Greek. Though multiple translations and changes in pronunciation, a tradition of saying Jesus has obscured his name, Yeshua. It has shifted his perceived message and identity from Hebrew to Greek. So, did you catch all of that? So it's a big difference, okay? Big difference in the way the name is pronounced. Big difference in the meanings that came from it. So we really lose a lot in the translation. Yeshua is what we should be referring. Yeshua ben Yosef. Yeshua, son of Yosef. So we understand that there's something important in the vibration of that particular name that is the Hebrew version of it, Yeshua, as opposed to the name that went on to be transliterated into Greek, and then as we finally pronounce it here in English. Jesus and Yeshua, different vibrations, different energy. Sure, people are referring to the same being. Many churches across America refer to the same being, and if you say Yeshua, may not understand who you are referring to, but indeed that is the true name. So again, I don't mean to sound critical or judgmental or anything of that nature, but it seems to me, for anyone who is claiming to understand the life of Yeshua, then it seems important that one should know his true name and how to pronounce his name. And if one is going by Jesus and they are not understanding the difference between the two, then I would suggest that there's more study that needs to be had. Because it's very important. One should be called by their proper name, and one should also be honored on their proper birth date. In the case of Yeshua ben Yosef, here in America, we do not call him by his proper name, and we don't honor his proper birth date. Yet we claim that we're a nation built on Christian principles and ideals. Well, Christian comes from the word Christ. So if we have a nation built on the ideals of Christ, but we don't understand the proper pronunciation of the representative of Christ, or we don't understand the proper timing of the birth of the representative of the Christ, then how are we to say that we truly understand that energy whatsoever? See, we need to look at some of these little things and understand they do make a big difference. They make a big difference. Is Jesus going to stop visiting people because you're calling him the wrong name? Probably not. But there's power in understanding what the real name is. There's power in those words and in those pronunciations, in the way that they were. Our English language, our English alphabet doesn't have the same meaning behind words and letters that the Hebrew alphabet did and other alphabets. Ours is a different type of a system. So it's very important. It's an important subject to me. That's why I brought it up. so that you could also understand that there is an importance and a difference. And if we are going to refer to God's Son, then we should refer to him as who he is, Yeshua. If you call him Jesus, that's okay. I've grown up with the name Jesus, so I'm used to that. But I also understand the importance of Yeshua as being the proper pronunciation. All right? Now I'm just going on a bit more than I need to. You get the idea. Let's move on to the next article here. This is an article at Body, Mind, and Soul, or Body, Mind, Soul, Spirit, excuse me. This is called Proof That the Human Body is a Projection of Consciousness by Brandon West, Waking Times. In this article, we'll explore how the body is a holographic projection of our consciousness and how you directly influence the hologram and thus have complete control over the physical health of your body. We'll also specifically explore the exact mechanism behind the principle, and don't worry, I'll provide scientific evidence so that your rational mind might be at ease. But first, how is this even possible? Human thought determines reality. One of the key principles of quantum physics is that thoughts determine reality. Early in the 1900s, they proved this beyond a shadow of a doubt with an experiment called the double-slit experiment. They found that the determining factor of the behavior of energy or particles at the quantum level is the awareness of the observer. For example, electrons under the same conditions would sometimes act like particles, and other times they would switch to acting like waves, because it was completely dependent on what the observer expected was going to happen. Whatever the observed believed would occur is what quantum field did. The quantum world is waiting for us to make a decision so that it knows how to behave. That is why quantum physics have such difficulties in dealing with explaining and defining the quantum world. We are truly, in every sense of the word, masters of creation because we decide what manifests out of the field of all possibility into form. The thing is, the quantum level of reality isn't a local and insignificant aspect of creation. It is all around us and is the most fundamental level of creation aside from the unified field itself. The human energy field is interacting and influencing the quantum field all around us at all times, and the energy of our beliefs and intentions are infused in our energy field because they are defined by the energy of our thoughts and our emotions. Thus, the fusion of our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, and intentions, which I will call the human energy field for simplicity's sake, is perpetually informing the quantum reality within us and around us at each moment of our existence. And because reality is flashing in and out of existence, hypothetically at Planck time, which is 1,044 times per second, as explained by the Resonance Project biophysicist William Brown, every time our reality oscillates between form and the pure energy state of the field, our awareness, which is constant and doesn't flash in and out of existence, informs the field what to appear as and to make its transition back to form at the quantum level. Therefore, each time we oscillate into formlessness, we have complete and total control and responsibility over what we choose with our attention to manifest out of the field in the next moment, and our power and ability to do relies entirely on what we believe and on how we are feeling. A dramatic example of this is the case of Vittorio Micheli. In 1962, he was admitted to the military hospital of Verona, Italy, with a large tumor on his left hip. The doctors knew that they could not help him, so his case was deemed hopeless and he was sent home without treatment. After about 10 months, his left hip bone had completely disintegrated. As a last resort, he traveled to Lourdes, France, and bathed himself in the spring there, which is a Christian holy site famous for producing miracles. Immediately, he started feeling better. He regained his appetite, bathed himself in the spring a few more times before he left. After a few months of being at home, he felt such a powerful sense of well-being that he urged the doctors to x-ray him again, and they were astonished to find that his tumor had shrunk. Over the next several months, they kept a close watch on him, and the x-ray showed his tumor kept on shrinking until it was gone. Once the tumor disappeared, his hip bone started regenerating. After 2 months, he was walking again, and several years later, his hip bone had completely regenerated. The Vatican's Medical Commission, in their official report, said, "A remarkable reconstruction of the iliac bone and cavity has taken place. X-rays made in 64, 65, 68, and 69 confirm categorically and without doubt that an unforeseen and even overwhelming bone reconstruction has taken place of a type none known in the annals of the world of medicine. Ordinarily, this would be deemed miraculous, and indeed it truly is, but I find that this miraculous in the sense of true power of human tension and belief that it displays. Moreover, this is a powerful evidence that suggests that there is an energetic structure which our material bodies align with, because that is one of the only logical explanations for how Vittorio Michelli's hip bone knew exactly what shape to grow back into, unless there was some sort of energetic blueprint which was instructing its growth, which, as the Vatican's medical commissioner clearly stated, was unknown in the annals of world medicine. In medicine, maybe this was unknown, but the same cannot be said for physics. At the atomic level, atoms bond with one another to form molecules which have specific geometric structures, and there is an energetic blueprint which they are adhering to, which dictates the shapes they maintain together. If our bodies are a projection of consciousness, then our consciousness would create an energetic blueprint which our atoms and molecules align with to create our bodies. There is a highly suggestive evidence that of the existence of this energetic blueprint in the new research on DNA, which proves that it transmits, receives, and thus reads energy directly from the field. Michelli's case is a perfect example of our human ability to reorganize that vacuum structure with our energy and our intentions, and thus manifest what we desire directly out of the field for truly miraculous results. The fact that he was starting to feel better and started to believe that he was healed is, I suggest, the key to his healing. Some may want to stick with the belief that God healed this man, and I would agree to you. But you and I would probably disagree on the nature of this God, for I contend that you are God, as all are, because the force we call God is the energy and infinite consciousness behind creation, and thus, when we tap into ourselves as pure consciousness, for example, without thought through meditation, then we open ourselves to the infinitude of our own awareness, because we inseparably are that infinite creative consciousness. We are it, and it is us. And when we open up to the energy, we allow ourselves to be flooded with a powerful sense of well-being and knowing, which has astounding power to create reality and directly affect our biology. I want to really internalize this understanding about the body as a projection of consciousness, that reality is flashing in and out of form. This is absolutely crucial in understanding our ability to heal, because half of the time we are formless, then who are we really? Because obviously our bodies and the material world is illusionary to a degree. And what is the blueprint which is guiding the rearrangement of our bodies each time we quite literally rematerialize? The answer to both questions would be consciousness. Our bodies are a holographic projection of our consciousness, and they are the sum total of our beliefs about ourselves. If we can change our beliefs about ourselves, we can thus change the energy that defines a human energy field. Then we can change the energetic blueprint which our body aligns as it rematerializes back into form 1,044 times per second. Okay, you can see there's more to the article. It says, you have no limitations and nothing is impossible. It is only your beliefs which dictate what you can and cannot do. Here's a quote from St. Augustine: miracles happen not in opposition to nature, but in opposition to what we know of nature. St. Augustine. All right, so very fascinating. And, it ties into so much that we do talk about. We bring this up here just as a reminder. The Hermetic principles, first one is mentalism, the mind. Okay, so the mind, consciousness, all connected, and so we're just heard in that last article how consciousness is affected by the way that we perceive it and how we think about it. So all of this is very important, because the mind corresponds to itself, to all aspects, great and small. Everything vibrates. Therefore, it changes from one form to another, as in the solid versus the vibratory rates. That things move from poles to poles as we continue to move in rhythm, and that what we do causes the effects that happen around us. And all of this occurs back and forth along the principles of the masculine and feminine energy working with each other. Okay, so that's it. So that's the very basics. It all ties in to what we have been researching and studying. And that's one of the amazing things about all of these sciences. They all relate back to each other. There's many ways that we are all describing the exact same thing. And so if we use the mind in the way that the mind was intended, we can do many, many things beyond that what we are normally aware of. So that's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right, that brings us to a channeled message for today. This one comes from Ascended Master Saint Germain.
Ascended Master Saint Germain.
Channeled by Vanessa Priest, January 6th, 2016.
Greetings, my friends. I am Ascended Master Saint Germain and Keeper of the Violet Flame. The one who you know as God has called upon us, the beings of the Galactic Federation of Light, to prepare you for an upcoming time of great upheaval and change. Humans do not change easily, or well, but change is coming. What will transpire is a climate of change due to the predicted landing of our forces on planet Earth. I cannot say enough how important it is that you love yourselves throughout this process. Invoke the violet flame to transmute the shadow aspects of yourself, that you may be a greater conduit for light to anchor into the planet. This climate of change will supersede the human tendency to resist change. However, the more open you make of yourselves now, the more you will enjoy what is to come. Freedom, true freedom is near. I have a transmission I wish to share with you of a prophecy that the Galactic Federation of Light has learned, the Anunnaki have, and that they are afraid will manifest. The prophecy says, "And I looked, there was a radiant sun, above all suns, dancing in the night sky. The sun came forth and brought the planets, the moon, the stars, and all universes unto her. No more will we worship the false ones," said she. In phases, the blue planet absorbed all the bodies of heaven until there was no more dark, no more shadow. The one planet, lit from within by the sun of the night sky, knew only light. And then, there was no light, for the former things had passed away, and there was only what is. There was only a beingness that knew no beginning and no ending, for opposites had fallen away and those allied with the dark were brought before her. She said, "Forgiven my brethren, for all things led to this, the passing of dark into the love of all things." Into her bosom they sobbed, for they knew not what had been missed until it was found. The prophecy was long ago believed to be about Earth, which is why it has been a zone fought over so desperately by the Dark Ones. For not only is Earth a blue planet, it has only one moon. The sun described in the prophecy is God. Whether God is he or she matters more to the people of Earth than to the one described, as a true God is a balance between the masculine and feminine aspects of energy. As such, God could almost be seen as gender neutral. Though God does in fact have a chosen image, this indicative of a gender, it is not an important detail to disclose. What is important is that God will be present on Earth at the time of our landing, though will choose to stay concealed for a time. It is important that the children of Earth find their own way to the enlightenment of the fifth dimension, without the profound influence a Godhead would have. We will, naturally, be a part of your evolution and growth toward ascension to the fifth dimension, and we are eagerly awaiting the time when we will all be together and channels will no longer be of a necessity. Love and light be with us all in this time of upcoming change. Peace, my friends.
All right, good message. Good message. So, change is upon us. We can ignore the change. We could say the beings that are part of this, if they're real and this is real, we could be concerned and say, "Oh no, these beings are coming down here from the Galactic Federation. Oh no," and we could be worried. But don't you think that that worry would have already been alleviated, because if they really wanted to do something, they would? I mean, it's quite a way out there way of trying to do whatever people think. I think that we have some really interesting times ahead of us, and if what is happening is real, if this event that they occur really occurs, that they talk about really occurs, then we're going to have some decisions to make, and we're going to have to rely upon our own inner guidance at that point in time, because we're all going to have to decide what we're going to do when and if these events that they talk about occur, how we are going to respond to that, and then we'll be able to move forward from there. So that's that. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and exhale. Take another deep breath. Exhale again. Just imagine yourself sitting in the middle of space. And all around you is energy. And as you look at this energy, you perceive this energy in different temperatures and vibrations, colors and sounds. You see that there's a shimmering to this as this energy is continuously moving, vibrating. You see aspects of light and dark all intertwined together and every color in between. And we realize as we float here in the midst of this energy which surrounds us and fills our being, that this is a huge playground for us. A place where we can allow our thoughts to manifest into reality. And as such, we find ourselves here on this earth amongst this reality that we somehow have chosen to participate in. And so we go into the world knowing that our minds have the ability to change the events happening in our lives simply by going in and focusing on the change that we want to have happen. And as we think about this, we realize then the importance of the images that we look at. We understand then that programs and that show us dark images over and over and over again are only intended to keep us locked in a state of illusion. We realize that the news programs and the politicians and the people of the world keep us locked in by their version of reality, a version that they want us to believe exists as real, a version that does not include God. So we simply have compassion for those individuals who choose to take us along those paths, and we simply walk the journey on the path following what we know to be right and real. And as such, we have the opportunity to participate not only in the physical, but to enjoy its success that comes from an understanding of the spiritual behind it. So we find ourselves truly blessed, living in this world of possibility and opportunity. We thank you, Heavenly Father, Heavenly Mother, for the blessings of this day. We thank you for the Christ that shines brightly down through all of life. We thank you for Yeshua coming to earth to represent the power of this Christ and to show us the ways in which we move and live through this energetic field. We pray for all the people of the earth that they open their eyes to see the glory of the greatness of this divinity that is all around us, and that in seeing that people of the earth change their ways from dark and evil intentions to those of positivity, love, and light. We know that we all participate in this energetic dance, and that what we say and do has an effect to some way or another. So we keep our mind focused on the good, on the positive, on God. So let the subconscious mind continue on the journey, sending out positivity, sending out love, just being aware of the opportunities to change the world around us. Let the subconscious mind continue on. Let's bring the positive and the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3 coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. 2 coming back to the present moment filled with faith. And 1 coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale and open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's the show for today. That'll get us through the week, get you to the weekend. We've got a lot of change taking place all around us. Just remember, as you're looking at the world, see it for what it is, but understand it's just one aspect of a much bigger picture. So don't get caught up in the little picture. Look at the big picture. Step back, get that perspective that's needed, because it will help us all, because we're all in this together. And when we work together, great things happen. That's it. You have an awesome weekend. Enjoy the videos. You know how to reach me, firstcontactradio@yahoo.com. I'll be back next week. Have an awesome weekend. I love you. Keep loving each other. Peace. I'm out of here.